for joining Wars of the Roses. As we conclude with part 24, Faith, Hope and Charity, from the Freemason's Manual, or Illustrations of Masonry by Jeremiah Howe. Chapter 24, Faith, Hope and Charity. The three great principles upon which our order is founded are brotherly love, relief and truth, and their importance is inculcated in our lectures. The first renders us affectionate and kind, the second generous, and the third just. In craft masonry, the supporting pillars of the lodge, as already described, are the three architectural columns denominated wisdom, strength and beauty. These, in the ancient and accepted rite, are displayed by three others of triangular form and representing the virtues of faith, hope and charity. In his second epistle, St. Peter exhorts his readers to the practice of what we are accustomed to call the cardinal virtues. Add to your faith virtue, to virtue knowledge, to knowledge temperance, to temperance patience, to patience godliness, to godliness brotherly kindness, and to brotherly kindness charity. These virtues are enforced in various parts of the rituals and enlarged upon in the first lecture of craft masonry. A more wide extension is, however, given to them in those degrees that have especial reference to Christianity, the degrees being not antagonistic to the craft degrees, but in reality an expansion of them. The great duties of man to God, his neighbor and himself, are the precepts most strongly enforced. Hence the points to direct the steps of the aspirant to higher honors are faith, hope, and charity. Faith. Faith is the basis of all Christian virtues and is defined to be a disposition of mind by which we hold for certain the matter affirmed. The faith that produces good works gives life to a righteous man. It may be considered either as proceeding from God, who reveals his truths to man, or from man, who assents to and obeys the truths of God. Faith is taken also for a firm confidence in God by which, relying on his promises, we address ourselves without hesitation to him, whether for pardon or other blessings. Faith is a reliance on testimony. If it be human testimony in reference to human things, it is not entitled to reception until after examination and confirmation. Human testimony in reference to divine things must also be scrupulously investigated before it be received and acted upon, since the grossest of all deceptions have been imposed on mankind in the name of God. Nor is testimony assuming to be divine entitled to our adherence or affection or obedience until its character is proved to be genuine and really from heaven. The more genuine it is, the more readily it will undergo and sustain the trial, and the more clearly will its character appear. But after a testimony, a maxim or a command is proved to be divine, it does not become a creature so ignorant and so feeble as man to doubt its possibility, to dispute the obedience to which it is entitled, or to question the beneficial consequences attached to it, though not immediately apparent to human discernment. Faith is the full assurance or personal conviction of the reality of things not seen. It looks backward to past ages as well as forward to futurity. By faith we believe that the world was originally created by God, though we can form no conception of, much less can we see, the matter out of which it was composed. By faith we believe in the existence of ancient cities as Jerusalem, Babylon, etc., also of distant places as Egypt, etc., also of persons formerly living as Abraham, David, Jesus Christ, etc. Faith anticipates things never seen as yet. So Noah by faith built the ark, although no general deluge had ever then been witnessed. So Moses, actuated by faith in the descent of the Messiah from Israel, quitted the honors and pleasures of Egypt. And so every pious man, believing what God has promised he is able to perform, looks forward with realizing belief in the existence of heaven and hell, of rewards and punishments beyond the grave, not such as are restricted to this world, but such as coincide with the immortality of the soul and with the power and wisdom of the supreme and universal judge. St. Paul's words in the original are, "Faith is the firm and assured expectation of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Those things not seen by sense and yet made manifest are the being of God and the rewards of the life to come." Faith is that firm conviction of the promises and threatenings of God, and the certain reality of the rewards and punishments of the life to come, which enables a man, in spite of all temptations, to obey his Creator in expectation of an invisible reward hereafter. Faith, like a simple, unsuspecting child securely resting on its mother's arm, reposing every care upon her God, sleeps on his bosom and expects no harm, receives with joy the promises he makes, nor questions of his purpose or his power, and does not doubting ask, can this be so? The Lord has said it, and there needs no more. However deep be the mysterious word, however dark, she disbelieves it not. Where reason would examine, faith obeys, and it is written answers every doubt. As evening's pale and solitary star but brightens while the darkness gathers round, so faith, unmoved amidst surrounding storms, is fairest seen in darkness most profound. Hope. Hope is distinguished from faith by its desire of good only, and by its reference to futurity. Faith contemplates evil as well as good, and refers to things past as well as to things future. But this is not the case with hope. We are therefore said to be saved by hope, by the hope or conviction or desire of unseen things, and we read of the full assurance of hope, which may be taken as synonymous with cheerful and earnest expectation. In the New Testament, it is generally taken for hope in the Messiah, hope of eternal blessings, hope of a future resurrection. Experience produceth hope, and hope maketh not ashamed. Hope, which is a confident expectation of future good, like all other graces, admits of degrees. It is sometimes feeble, but when it is the result of experience, it is confident and proof against shame or hesitation. It is sometimes limited to things near or to things likely, but it also extends beyond this world to possessions laid up in heaven, to glory, immortality, and eternal life. It is repeatedly connected with patience, with waiting, with expectation, with rejoicing, and with reason. For the hope of a pious man, however it may refer to divine things, or be founded on divine promises, or be derived from, or promoted by, the sacred Spirit, is yet a reasonable hope, and combines purity of heart and life, that is, obedience, with devout and firm reliance on the promises and perfections of God. The hope of Israel was the end of the Babylonish captivity, the coming of the Messiah, and the happiness of heaven. The prisoners of hope, as mentioned in the book of Zechariah chapter 9, verse 12, are the Israelites who were in captivity, but in hopes of deliverance. The Lord is the hope of the righteous. Their hope shall not be confounded. The hope of the ungodly shall perish. It shall be without effect, or they shall live and die without hope. The poet Young is eloquent in its commendation. Hope of all passions most befriends us here. Passions of prouder name befriend us less. Joy has her tears, and transport has her death. Hope, like a cordial, innocent though strong, man's heart at once inspirits and serenes, nor makes him pay his wisdom for his joys. 'Tis all our present state can safely bear, health to the frame and vigor to the mind, a joy attempered, a chastised delight. Like the fair summer evening, mild and sweet, 'tis man's full cup, his paradise below. The Greek fable is too instructive to be omitted. In the house of Epimetheus there was a large box which an oracle had forbidden to be opened. Pandora, full of curiosity, lifted the fatal lid, and immediately all evils issued forth and spread themselves over the earth. The terrified female at length regained sufficient presence of mind to close the lid, and hope on this was alone secured. There is a curious analogy between this more ancient tradition and the account of the fall of our first parents as detailed by the inspired penman. Prometheus, forethought, may denote the purity and wisdom of our early progenitor before he yielded to temptation. Epimetheus, afterthought, indicates his change of resolution and his yielding to the arguments of Eve, which the poet expresses by saying that Epimetheus received Pandora after he had been cautioned by Prometheus not to do it. The curiosity of Pandora violates the injunction of the oracle, as our first parent Eve disregarded the commands of her maker. Pandora, moreover, the author of all human woes, is the author likewise of their chief, and in fact, only solace. For she closed the lid of the fatal box before hope could escape, and this she did, according to Hesiod, in compliance with the will of Jove. May not hope thus secured be that hope and expectation of a Redeemer, which has been traditional from the earliest ages of the world? Even so, our first parents commit the fatal sin of disobedience, but from the seed of the woman, the first to offend, was to spring one who should be the hope and only solace of our race. Barker's Lempriere. Charity. Our Grand Master Moses, in stating the law for the institution of the Jubilee, or Year of Liberty, which was to take place every 50th year, gives us the earliest injunction in the law of charity and beneficence. If thy brother be waxen poor and fallen into decay with thee, thou shalt relieve him, yea, though he be a stranger or sojourner, that he may live with thee. Thus, under the Mosaic dispensation, there was an express exhortation to the practice of the law of charity. And St. Peter, in a regular and artificial gradation, has connected all the several virtues that form the life and complete the character of a good man under the new covenant. Add to your faith virtue, and to virtue knowledge, and to knowledge temperance, and to temperance patience, and to patience godliness, and to godliness brotherly kindness, and to brotherly kindness charity. Charity, or universal benevolence, is added as a supplement to brotherly love and closes the catalogue of the cardinal virtues. Charity, in this sense, comprehends all the social virtues which depend upon our relation to one another as men, connected by various ties in life as relations, friends, and neighbors. But so general is the law of goodwill towards men that it extends to our very enemies. St. Paul best shows the nature and extent of this virtue. Charity suffereth long and is kind. Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up, doth not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil, rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in the truth, beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. How extensive is this virtue, and how fruitful of blessing to mankind. It cuts up by the root all the causes of contention and mischief. It drives from the heart of man pride, hatred and envy, impatience and anger, animosity, suspicion and jealousy. It plants in room of them the love of truth and justice, integrity, equity, kindness and forbearance, a courteous and obliging bearing. By the comprehensive virtue of charity we may secure good order, peace and happiness in this world, whilst it opens to us the prospect of a better. Now St. Paul has determined that though they bestow all their goods to feed the poor, yet if they have not the charity to act in other respects as they ought, it will profit them nothing. But still, although almsgiving is by no means the whole of beneficence, yet it is an essential part in those whom God hath qualified for it. And he hath given them all things richly and in plenty, not merely for themselves to enjoy in a vulgar sense, but that others may enjoy a due share of them, and they the pleasure of imparting it, the worthiest and highest enjoyment of wealth that can be. In general, both our charity and our generosity should bear some decent and liberal proportion to our abilities. For if we are deficient, the poor widow with her 2 mites will far outdo us in that very virtue by which our Maker justly expects we should be distinguished. Nor is it sufficient to give plentifully according to our means, but we should do it on every needful occasion speedily, and not stay till the circumstances of the poor applicant are beyond recovery. Our Grand Master Solomon says, "Say not unto thy neighbor, go and come again tomorrow, and I will give," as mentioned in the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 28. By the practice of these virtues we shall feel how delightful it is to think that by our means the miseries of God's creation are lessened. Charity, the most lovely of virtues, represents others as lovely as possible. It does not merely let us see an object as it is a kind of sunshine which brightens what it lets us see. Whereas ill nature passes over all the shining parts of a man's character and dwells entirely on the dark side of it, as a painter of low rank throws those beauties into darkness and shade which his eye cannot endure to behold, because his mind cannot reach them. It is no unusual thing to hear some men complaining that their abilities to do good and to abound in works of charity are cramped within a narrow sphere, though their inclinations are very large and extensive. Now, if these men are in earnest, there is one kind of charity which will not be expensive to themselves and yet endear them to their fellow creatures. their worldly circumstances may not enable them to cherish merit by their generosity, and to relieve distress by almsgiving. But this charitable office is daily in their power, to cast in shade their neighbor's misconduct, and to set out in the most advantageous point of view their good qualities, to extenuate their failings, and to do justice to their virtues, to draw an obscure character into the light, and to rescue an injured one from obloquy. Silver or gold they may have little or none, but such as they have they may give, namely what is better than silver and gold, a good name and reputation to their neighbors. The truly Masonic virtues of beneficence and charity are enforced in the most impressive manner on our first admission to the light of Masonry, and at every meeting the charitable institutions of the order are prominently brought before the fraternity. And although many pens have in powerful language enforced these virtues, we can find none more eloquently than the poet Prior. Charity, decent, modest, easy, kind, softens the high and rears the abject mind, knows with just reins and gentle hand to guide betwixt vile shame and arbitrary pride. Not soon provoked, she easily forgives, and much she suffers, as she much believes. Soft peace she brings wherever she arrives, she builds our quiet as she forms our lives, lays the rough paths of peevish nature even, and opens in each heart a little heaven, each other gift which God or man bestows, his proper bound and due restriction knows. To one fixed purpose dedicates its power, and finishing its act exists no more. Thus, in obedience to what heaven decrees, knowledge shall fail and prophecy shall cease, but lasting charity's more ample sway, nor bound by time, nor subject to decay, and happy triumph shall forever live, and endless good diffuse, and endless praise receive. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment, and if you can please consider donating to Wars of the Roses. Links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. Thank you so very much.